What's up, nerd? So if you're new here, you won't really get this, but long time no see. I've basically taken like a 6-month hiatus. If you're new to this channel, I have a background in like marketing and like design, which is what I studied in school, but I'm super interested in tech. So if you're interested in any of that, be sure to drop a subscribe. Like for example, my last video was about how TikTok basically gets inside your mind and taps into your psychology to sort of figure out what you like and what you don't like. But aside from that fact, we're talking about Zen Browser right now. So what is Zen Browser? So Zen Browser is what they claim a calmer version of the internet. So it's actually just Arc browser basically. So before they had a little bit of a different idea for how it worked, and I tried it out a few months ago, but it didn't quite work in a way that I like necessarily. And at that time, I feel like Arc was doing a little bit better of a job at being a browser basically. So I want to compare the two. Zen has gotten a lot better since I've seen it last, and I recently tried it out because the Arc version for Windows doesn't work super well, but Zen Browser for Windows actually works phenomenal. And they also have software for Linux, macOS, along with Windows. I'm on macOS here, but I have my Windows computer also running it as well, but Mac is my primary computer. So like if I switch on here, it's gonna be something I'm using every single day. So I came up with 5 different categories to compare the two. The basic browsing, so basically like the speed, the organization, so how they manage tabs, and like if I feel like they're very intuitive to use. 3 is that security, so I'll talk a little bit about that later. And then the design and customization. And then lastly is the ecosystem. So let's jump straight into Zen Browser. So I went ahead and added 2 different spaces. We'll talk about that a little bit in the organization section. But basically Zen Browser and Arc look almost identical and they operate almost identical as well. So here's that side by side. So you can see for basic web browsing, you'll see me open up these different tabs. So you'll see how quickly they move. And I do think that Arc has a little bit of animation time. It's a little bit slower. I don't know if you're really catching that on camera, but I do feel like Zen is a lot snappier, which for people, they might not like that. They might like the animations a little bit more. This page is actually what I'm kind of testing the speed of the browser on, but because it's a very simple web page, but it also leads me into one of my points about Arc, which is Arc recently switched from developing for Arc to developing to Dia. So the parent company, the browser company, which is based in New York, out this letter on May 26th. And so in this letter, they basically say that they're not stopping development of Arc, and they talk about how they're switching to a new browser, which is called the Dia browser. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you want to see me check that out. I believe as of now, it's still closed source. I do have access to the Dia browser, which is pretty cool. They're talking about how they're switching to Dia, and in my opinion, Dia is not a browser at all, basically. It's more of a research tool, at least in its current stage and iteration. So me personally, I'm not really sure why they're switching. They do kind of talk about it in this video and why they want to switch to that, and they talk about different integrations, and I do appreciate how open Arc is being about all of this. But the downside is Arc sort of stopped developing. So I've been using Arc for about 2 years now, and in the very beginning, they were rolling out new features every single week. And Josh Miller, who is actually the CEO of the company, was dropping Twitter polls of like, oh, do you like this feature or do you not like this feature? And I thought that's super cool. You have a voice in how the browser works, which is something you're using every day. So it's pretty important. But you can see it operates pretty well. I mean, for daily tasks, like for example, one of my benchmarks is just looking at YouTube videos, and they load pretty well. Like I have no issues with this. Clicking on random videos, they all play. Top it plays ads, but I'll talk about some of the extensions later. But if I skip this, you can see it plays quick. I don't really have any issues with it. I can scroll the page, super responsive. So in its very basic task, it does what it needs to do. It's a browser and it operates in a way that's not very clunky. I'm able to switch around between tabs, and I have no issues. And I did have issues when I initially tried Zen Browser a few months ago. So I'm really glad to see they sort of fix that and change that up. So next we're gonna talk about organization, which is identical to Arc almost, because if you go into here to create a new space, you go up here and you just hit plus and you can create your new space. So for example, I have a school one, but let me do like a work one right here and change your icon to whatever you want. So we'll just do a pen and then I create that workspace. So here we go, I'm set in this workspace. And now what Arc has is profiles, and the difference between profiles is like, for example, if I am a college student, but I also go to a community college at the same time because I'm like, want to take classes. It's a very specific example because this is what I do, but I want to have different Canvas accounts and I want them to auto log in to different accounts. So if I'm in a space for one college, I want that to log into that one. And if I'm in another space for another college, I want that to log into that one. So Zen actually does have a method for doing this. So if I go into work down here, I can go into set default containers. So these containers are essentially how that works. So if I go over to work, I can set that to the work container. So those are kept in their own separate things, and you can add your own or you can like change it up. It is a little bit less intuitive than Arc. So for example, I can go to manage space, and then if I go into default right here, I can change it's in default, but I can switch it to any of these other ones, which is pretty nice. Those are super helpful, especially if you have multiple aspects of your life you need to switch between, like if you're a student or if you run a business. For like me, for example, I have like one for my YouTube channel, one for like personal documents, like all that kind of stuff is super helpful to have, and it really speeds things up. It also has the exact same layout as Arc as well. So for example, Arc has up here, you have your favorited tabs, which I have some up there, and you can literally just drag this and this will now become one of my favorited tabs. And you'll see if I switch between spaces, those tabs stay consistent. And then I can have these which are favorited within that category. So these don't stay consistent across different spaces. So you can see like this one changes to YouTube, whereas this one has Canva. And then if I open up another one, so these are temporary tabs. So these open down here. So these are a little bit different. And I do also like that they allow you to rename the tabs. So this has been super helpful because, you know, when you're using Chrome or whatever, you have so many different tabs. I know they have tab groups, and I haven't really used Chrome in like, I think years now, but I know they have tab groups, but they don't really help in the same way. So this one, I can call this like Canva Design 1. And so if I have multiple, I can open up another tab of this, and let's go down here, and this one can be Canva Design 2. And there you go, you have two different ones. And so that way I can save that, and it's really helpful, especially like for another example, for a student in Canvas, you can name your classes by what their name is, and that way you have those categories already broken down for you. So that's been super nice for me as well. Third, we're gonna get into security. So this is gonna be sort of a short section. And I think the main security risk with Arc is that it is Chromium based. Not that it's that important, because Google is probably finding other ways to track you, but Chromium is a lightweight version of Chrome, but it comes with all the same security flaws, I guess you can call them, that Chrome does, which is that they're selling your data to advertisers. It's pretty obvious. A lot of browsers do that. If that's something you take pretty seriously, I think that Zen is definitely the way to go, because Zen is completely Firefox based. And you don't really notice it on the surface. Like, it looks a lot similar to how Arc is, but when you go to this backend, this is all how Firefox looks. I think this is really great because it actually is almost better than Arc in some ways, because it has integration to the browser. I don't know how to explain this, but for example, if I go into Arc and I go into the preferences and settings, it has its own page right here where I can customize it, but it's a little bit limited because some of the browser settings are actually in the Chromium setting, if that makes sense. So here, it's all in that Firefox setting, so I don't have to worry about another page. I mean, they do have this settings page, but this takes me straight to the Firefox settings, which is super nice. So if I go down to look and feel as well, you can change everything about the browser. So if you like a little bit of a different look, they offer that as well. So I think these are super nice. And another thing with that as well is that it does offer a lot more customizability than Arc, because Arc is completely only left side tabs. You can't have them on the right. And I know some people do like having it on the right. So if I double click on here and then go to tabs on the right, you cannot do this in Arc. Arc just does not allow you to do this. So I'm gonna move this back over right there. And yeah, this is super great. And the security obviously is gonna be better with a Firefox-based system. But if Firefox gives you that security, I do understand why you'd wanna switch. And that sort of leads me into my next one, which is design and customization. So like I was saying about the tabs on the right, they also offer all the built-in settings of Firefox, which is super nice. I can change like the look and feel. These are obviously not gonna work. So if I wanna change the look of this, I can go to change theme colors. And this is the exact same as Arc's color picker right here, but it's nice. I mean, it works. I don't really have any gripe with it. I can't really figure out how to get transparency like they have on their website, but I know there is a way to make the entire browser transparent, which I think looks super nice. And just like Arc, these actually are only per space. So you can see I have a lot more grain on this one, but if I go over here, I have less grain. And then another cool feature about this is I can change the toolbar. This is something that Arc can't do at all. So I can actually have like specific things in here. So I can add the sidebar. I could have Firefox view. Just any of these that I want to add, I can put them up there. And you'll see if I go over here now, I have this Firefox tab right here. So this is going to show me all the bookmark tabs and stuff. That's super nice. I don't personally like necessarily need it, but it's nice that it's offered. I think one downside that Zen has that Arc doesn't is folders. So I can't really make folders. And for me personally, this is a deal breaker. I'm not sure if there is an extension for folders, but you'll see over here, I have tons of folders. And Arc lets me put folders within folders, which I think is also super nice. So for all the stuff that I need, like I literally save things in here, which maybe I shouldn't do because I might lose them, I guess, if something happens to Arc. but it is nice that I can have these within, with folders and folders. So it does make organization a lot neater for me. And I can't do that in Zen. So I think that's like one of the things holding me back from fully switching, but, and Arc still has that leg up. And I think Arc also has a leg up in the sense that it's a company that has like venture-backed funding. I don't know all the history behind Zen, but from what I gather, it's a pretty small team of people working on it. And they don't have like huge budgets like Arc does. I mean, Arc was given like, I think it was like 200 million or something. So I think that does offer a little bit of security in the sense that Arc is definitely here to stay. In my last one, which is the extensions and the ecosystem. So Zen has mods, which they don't have at all in Arc. And these are great. So this sort of can fix my folder problem. If I knew how to program more, I could actually probably make folders for myself in the tabs, and there might be a way to do it that I don't know of yet. But the thing with Arc was they used to make new features every week, and sometimes it would be something you like or sometimes it was something you don't like. But with this, you can kind of pick and choose, and anybody can create their own. So I do really like this, and one that I've downloaded that I really liked was the animations one. So they have Animations Plus right here. Shout out to Anoms12. But so you could add this mod and it really helps, like it gives it a more polished view. So I think this is super great to have, and something that Arc basically lacks entirely. I mean, Arc doesn't really have any, they allow you to do the Google extensions, but that's about it. But yeah, I just think overall this is a great way to do it because it sort of open sources the browser so that people can create their own things. And I really do like it. And Zen also doesn't have any AI features built in. So Arc will auto rename files, which is nice. And it will also like auto name tabs for you, which is also nice. But if you don't like having AI, like be a whole part of your browser experience, like Zen is definitely the way to go because they don't really try to force it on you. Not that Arc does that. You can turn the AI features off, obviously. But I just like overall that this is more of a community-based software. So I think that definitely is a pro for it. One thing that it doesn't have, which you can fix with Firefox extensions, but I do like how Arc does this. So if I want to retheme a website, I can come up to this tooltip right here, and then I can go into here. And they're called Arc Boosts, and you can download these. So it's sort of like the mods, but it's a little bit different. I can take out like certain aspects that I don't like. So if I want to take out like this, for example, I can just zap the element out, which is super nice, especially for like ads and stuff on websites. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it's just overall nice. You can change like the font if you want to see something a little bit different. And you don't need to know how to program it. I mean, it's all like built-in features. So I think that's also a great thing to have. And you can switch, like if you want it to be dark mode or light mode, you can totally do that. But I just don't see that being like that important of a feature for me personally, since it doesn't really change the website at all. And I think there are some Arc boosts that allow you to change the website, but it's just not as much of a pro as the Zen mods would be. So I do think that Zen has a lot of things going for it. And if they can get folders in there, I think that it's an easy integration. But if you're on Windows, definitely go with Zen. Arc browser for Windows just does not work really at all. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed my thoughts on it, I don't know why you enjoyed my thoughts on it, but if you enjoyed my thoughts on it, be sure to drop a subscribe. I have tons of technical videos, and it's summertime now, so I'm gonna be making a lot more videos. But yeah, I have a video about how the UI developers at TikTok sort of tap into your psychology, and I got that video right here if you want to check that out. So it's really crazy how addictive they make that software. But yeah, stay tuned if you want to see me use Dio, which is the browser company's new browser. But anyway, that's it for me.